What's up, guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. It was an amazing week last week, loaded with winners across multiple sports. Here are some of the highlights. We kick off things in the college football streets where our members have been crushing. Phil Mix Bra hit for $1,500, while Freddie 11 won $3,400. In MMA, 57 Lions had a nice ROI, turning $100 into over $1,000. And Agency Arms LLC hit for $2.9K in NHL. Just a reminder, our memberships include all sports for one price. World Cup kicks off next week too, and we will have a ton of content to help you ship. So sign up today and let's start running pure. In the NFL, RPS ran the leaderboards once again. I landed my 5th King of the Beach ticket. D. Bailey 2106 hit for $5K. JRex 777 won $38K. And D. Kafer shipped a 3rd live final seat. Our biggest sport last week was the NBA, where our members shipped left and right. Our NBA content has been on fire, and you can catch our daily shows for free by subscribing to our YouTube channel right now. ROI was strong in NBA last week too. Connor turned $28 into $1,700 using K-Falix Core. Chunky Blue turned $14 into $1,700. Junior turned $64 into $1,800. Chargers 0616 hit for $2K, while Brandon 2323 won over $10K. Our coordinators joined in as well, with Bobby Hare winning $14K. Mangone hit for $16K, while K-Falix shipped for $44,000. Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in our weekly core report, drop your winning lineup in our Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. While you're watching, hit that like button now. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Until next time, let's keep running pure.
I do. I'm a very trusting person.
JT doesn't believe all the bullshit. JT's a veteran. He's smart enough to see through bullshit.
JT, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I don't know what to think here about whether or not he's got back here. I'm interested in the fact that there have been no family vacations or anything like that. I mean, you guys presented this picture of a very close-knit family, and now to learn that you've never even been on vacation together at the beach together.
Well, hold on.
Which, I mean, families do all the time. It's a little bit concerning that perhaps.
Let me stop you, JT. JT, let me stop you because I don't want your monologue to go on for 3 minutes. So Big T obviously lived out in Colorado for 30 plus years of his life. So he's only been back here with us in Kentucky for about 5 years, and so he doesn't go on vacation.
Family.
He doesn't go on vacation. He doesn't go to beaches.
He or you were estranged from the family. One of the two.
Well, I mean, you could call it that's probably closer to the truth than him. He just doesn't go. So we go every year, for the record. We go down to Florida or Destin or something. We got like 30 people to go. He's not one of the 30. How's that?
He's missing such a good time down in Destin. Does Pooh go?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Holden, have you met Pooh?
Big T Senior goes as well.
I don't know who Pooh is.
You're missing out. He's one of the most fascinating human beings I've ever met in my life. He's great. He's another one of the Niehaus clan.
How old is he?
He's probably 50 something. Young.
He's a little older than us.
Yeah, okay. A little. He would fit right in on this pod, to be honest. Once that conviction rolls in for spread and he can no longer come on, then we may be looking for a new partner. So
what's Pooh's background here? Talk to me, Terry. What's his role in the family?
He's actually the youngest. So he's actually 48. He's 4 years younger than me. He's the youngest, actually. And he follows the sports a little bit like we do, but not nearly as in-depth as me and Big T. So he'll dabble in the DFS streets a little bit, but he definitely doesn't follow it like we do. But likes to play cornhole, likes to drink, as JT found out. They drank a lot together when he was in, and likes to play cornhole and hang out and have a good time. But yeah, he's a good guy. He's my best man, and I was the best man in his wedding. He was best man in my wedding, so he's good people.
The best thing about visiting Tony during that and everyone during that March Madness party is his neighbors come over, and it's probably like 1 o'clock in the morning at this point. Neighbors come in, and he's got a golden tee in the basement, and the neighbor can't really see. I mean, the neighbor is so smashed on whatever. And he goes, come on, we're going to play Golden Tee. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll play Golden Tee with you. He goes, $25. I'm like, dude, we don't. So he can't even finish the round. And he walks over and he's throwing money at me. I'm like, dude, it's fine. It's fine. They gamble on everything. It's amazing. It's one of the most amazing things.
I tried to get JT to gamble at Golden Tee and he wouldn't play me.
No, I mean, there are some limits. I mean, you're going to play on a computerized game. I mean, come on.
JT, I can't tell. Do you have scurvy or a cold? What's going on over there with you? Are you feeling okay?
Scurvy would not result in.
It's oranges. You need citrus. I know. And it's not like that, but you still look scurvious.
Scurvy is actually a lack of the
vitamin
ingredient.
C.
Yeah. So it wouldn't result in my voice sounding like this.
Oh, I was talking about your looks. You looked a little jaundiced.
You can go fuck yourself.
Okay. I'll do
that. Thanks. It's the lighting because I'm not at home.
So, that's what it is?
Yeah, I don't have my normal setup.
Where are you? Are you allowed to share where you are right now?
Yeah, I'm in West Palm Beach. I'm playing baseball this week. And
nice.
So we're playing at it's the Men's Senior Baseball League Fall Classic. And we played Sunday afternoon. We played a game in the Astros and National Spring Training Stadium. We're playing there again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
One game a day. And I understand, from what I understand, the team we're playing tomorrow morning, Doug Flutie plays on this team. So we're going to play a baseball game against Doug Flutie tomorrow, Doug Flutie's team. So that should be interesting.
Nice.
You think one of you guys will just drill him because he's Doug Flutie? Just hit him right in the ass?
No, we need to win games.
How's your team? Is it a really good team or something?
It's a good team. It's a good team, but we got manhandled the first game down here, and we actually lost yesterday. So we won today. We won the second game Sunday, but 2-3 isn't going to get us into the playoffs. So we need to win this game. There won't be any intentional beanings going on tomorrow.
Okay. Do you wear a cup?
Of course, Holden. Of course,
you do wear a cup.
Yeah.
Uncle T, when was the last time you wore a cup?
He's got one on now.
Could you imagine?
I do not have one on now, but I have played baseball my whole life, Holden.
Yeah.
Never wore a cup once. You know why?
What?
One, they couldn't find the size big enough. But two, they give you that leather to put on your hand. I was always an infielder, middle infielder, shortstop, third, second.
Yeah.
They give you that glove. What do you need a freaking cup for?
You never had a bad hop?
I did wear a mouthpiece when I got to high school because I didn't want the beautiful grill messed up. But yeah, never worried about getting a bad bounce or anything. But I don't fault people that do. I mean, JT probably doesn't have any trouble finding one his size, but I never really wore one. So
they actually they do come in extra large, Uncle T. So I mean, I'm not sure why you had so much trouble. I can only guess, but most of my life I've either been a pitcher or a catcher. So I always wear a cup because
now catching I could see for
not
sure.
a good feeling. It's happened. It happened one time when I was a kid. I was rushed. I left the house without the jock strap and didn't care all that much, and that was painful. So.
Holden, have you ever worn a jock strap or a cup?
I had to for baseball as well. So yes, I remember the one time I didn't was in a practice and it was dark, so I couldn't even see the ball, and it was a bullseye, just right off the ground and up. Hit more of my penis than the testicles, which was less painful, I would think. Right? It's probably less painful to get hit there than your nuts. Agree or disagree, Uncle T?
On the workbench, Holden.
Yeah, but what about in just general? Where would you rather get hit if it was one of the two? It's got to be not in the nads.
I mean,
JT, do you have a thought on this? Where do you think it hurt more, to get hit in the dick or hit in the sack?
It's the it's no doubt the testicles.
Yeah.
You get hit there, and they're gonna feel like they're crawling up into your belly.
Oh God, please stop. I mean, seriously, it's horrible. No, it's horrible. Did your kid ever hit you in the nut? There was a period of about 2 years that all I was doing was getting hit in the nuts by my kids every other week, just kicking or punching or whatever. It was horrible. I put them in the cart, little wagon at the supermarket, and she'd kick her legs back and forth, and it was like the worst height ever. She just kicked my nuts constantly. Very frustrating, guys. Now I'm flashing back to that. Very frustrating time in my life.
Was that when you decided that you were going to break the cup out? And
that's exactly when I did it. I wore a cup for a good first 5 years of my kids' lives. I just took that off about 2.5 years ago.
Well, there you go.
Don't judge.
Very proud of you.
Don't judge. And the last thing I'd like to bring up, Uncle T, I blocked you on YouTube, as you know. I can't figure out how to unblock you.
That's
do you
a
know
good
how to
thing.
do that?
No, I've never really disliked someone enough to where I've tried to block them. Like you obviously did me. I thought we were closer than that, but now that you don't know how to unblock me, I'm going to just leave you like you are. So I can mess with you in chat and you still won't know.
Yeah, I'll have no idea. No idea, Uncle T.
You want to let JT on why I messed with you earlier and that awful shirt you had on?
Oh, it's such a great shirt. Ladies love brutal. That shirt. No, I've gone on many a date with that shirt. And I always get compliments.
Mangun texted me on the side and he said, "You're exactly right." He goes, "That was a great call." Yeah. JT, he has a plaid, like awful shirt. It looked like something he took a tablecloth off of his kitchen table and put it on.
Yeah.
What does blocking someone on YouTube entail?
Just all you have to do is hit block and then you don't see them anymore. They're they're dead.
Like in the YouTube chat?
Yeah. Did you know that?
No, I mean,
no. Now you can get rid of all your haters.
I love that.
Or just say something silly.
No, they give us so much fodder when we're doing those shows because of the stupid things
I blocked Uncle T because I thought it would be funny for the show. I didn't block him off the show. But now I can't figure out how to turn it back on. Frustrating.
Holden, I gotta say something though. If you blocked me and no one else knew that you blocked me, how is that funny when you're the only one that knew it?
No, everybody knew that I blocked you because we were laughing about it on the show. I literally said, "Ha ha ha! I just blocked Uncle T."
But
and someone that I was working with said, "That's mean. Don't do that."
No, but the only reason you knew that I said something was because Simon said something. If he didn't say anything, you would have had no idea. So that's what I'm saying. If you're the only one that knew, that can't be very funny.
No, they all knew.
I love you, Holden.
What's the JSU said we fight like little kids. Like, you guys are the oldest guys here. You fight like this is what happens when you get old, JSU.
Just wait if you do get that invite in March.
Oh God. JT, last thing, and I had brought this up on the premium, the Up to Lock show yesterday. What's the AC set at right now? What's the normal living temperature in your house? But what is it down in Florida?
At night, I try to get it down to 65.
Okay.
I try to get down to 65.
Okay.
Right now, I think it's about 68, something like that. And it's intermittent, so it's not constant because otherwise it'd be a little bit noisier potentially.
Good temperature.
In Atlanta, they had a freeze warning earlier this week, so I was kind of happy to be down here because it was in the 30s there. So you would have had the heat on and not the AC.
I mean, we just have a tired, sick JT Hayes today. Uncle T, you're gonna have to carry the show.
I always got JT's back. I think actually he's been good so far today, but
you like it? I'm lacking. I'm seeing a lack of energy. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, you've got nothing though, Holden. You're boring the fuck out of me. I mean, you wanted to talk about Uncle T's back hair,
right?
Now you want to you blocked him on Twitter or
he was talking about
his YouTube, JT.
His cup size.
I mean, make me laugh, entertain me, and maybe you'll get a little bit more excited.
Do you have anything you would like to discuss today? Now that we're done.
Well, now that we're done, I get an opportunity to pick a topic here.
Yeah, I mean that's fine if you want to.
Man, let's talk. Right. I do have this one thing. Because I watched the Brooklyn Nets play a basketball game last night.
Oh my God.
And what the hell is that? So I felt very differently than a lot of people when they made the trade for James Harden and then signed, got Durant. I'm like, there's no way these three guys are ever going to get along enough to win. I had no, idea that it was going to go this miserably, but I don't know where this organization goes from here. I mean, you've got Kyrie out on the sidelines. They fired a coach. They were going to hire another coach that has already been suspended for the year. They've got a bunch of these bit players. I mean, at least, they don't have James Johnson, but they do have Markieff Morris. So I read this article today, and they had a players only meeting, and they said, Markieff Morris is a veteran leader on this team. I said, oh my God, that cannot be good. It just can't be. It just can't be. Like, who would listen to Markieff Morris? It's like, dude, you play 3 minutes a night.
You know what I find crazy about this is that the Knicks are the most dysfunctional organization in the NBA, and now they're not the most.
Because what's happening now, Holden, the Thibodeau effect is happening now, right?
Thibodeau
is everything's going up for like 2 seasons, and then the message gets stale, players get tired of him, and he absolutely craters. And you saw this, like he came out yesterday. He's like, I might change up the starting rotation because they suck, the starting lineup. And then he didn't. What he did was he took 2 guys out of the rotation that play like a combined 20 minutes. And, so I think they're going to go downhill. They missed out on Julius Randle's best years because they couldn't put together a competitive team. So no, the Knicks will stay the Knicks, just like, I hate to say it, but it's true. Just like the Mets will stay the Mets, no matter how much money you infuse and throw at a problem. Jacob deGrom still doesn't stay there. He's telling the Rangers he'd like to play there. He'd like to go to the Astros. Essentially, he'd like to go to anywhere, any organization that's not named the New York Mets.
deGrom just wants out. He's just done.
It seems that way. I mean, he's a Florida kid, but it seems like, and we won't know. Maybe when he leaves that organization, we'll get a little more clarity into what really was going on with how they handled him, the medical issues, etc. But it seems like he wants out, and it's a situation where people are saying, oh, they're just going to throw a ton of money at him, and I'm like, I don't think so. I think he might take less money to go to one of these franchises that he thinks has a better shot, a better organization.
Interesting. We've got the World Cup coming up. Uncle T, are you a big World Cup guy?
No,
soccer.
I'm not much on the soccer scene, but I will be dabbling in the soccer streets because I think we have some good people here at Runs Pure. I think Rubio and the team do a great job, and I think Monday is the first big slate, right? I think it starts Sunday, but the first big slate for what the World Cup is, right? I think is on Monday. So no, I'll probably dabble in it for sure and just rely on our coordinators. But I don't follow it much, Holden. No.
Got a big game against Iran. We're rivals. We're gonna have to beat them. We're only even money too. It's kind of sad. I mean, I'm not feeling that comfortable. I don't know shit about either team, but that's a big one. Can't be losing to them. That's our rivals, Let's take them down.
Are they our rivals in sports, or
let's just do that too.
Geopolitics. I mean,
well, geopolitics, but if they end up beating us, that they're just gonna be, burning our flag again. It's gonna be they hate us.
I mean,
that's not nice.
They're doing that anyway. I mean,
yeah, but then they'd really have a reason to do it. It's very mean. That was the geopolitics portion of our show today.
Of the program. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Are you watching the World Cup or no? You don't like it?
I don't know that I'll go out of my way to be catching any World Cup matches, but you never know. I mean, like Uncle T says, the team here is good. If I find some nice contests, I might decide to dabble, and that would therefore increase my interest in potentially catching a game.
I think I'm going to have to bet this. I'm going to play a little. Do they have Showdown World Cup? It's the first yawn ever on our show, by the way. JT just broke it out. Of course, it was when I was talking. So maybe I do have to excite him a little bit.
It wasn't a yawn. I had a little cough, so I muted myself.
You had a booger.
Covered my mouth.
Let's talk football. What do you think, guys? I want to talk a little main slate. I want to talk about a couple players first. We got 2 Justins. We got Justin Fields and we got Justin Jefferson. And maybe this will pique JT's interest. Justin Fields and Justin Jefferson. Pick a Justin. Uncle T could take the other one, but they are the 2 biggest stories in fantasy football right now, and DFS and everything.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing about what Justin Fields is doing, I mean, must play every week, and he's still not as owned as he should be. Even in good matchups, where he's just running all over the place. I mean, he's been. You remember the narrative last season around the Bears was that, they were trying to control him. They wanted him to stay in the pocket. They didn't want him to be a rusher. And he's even to a degree different than like Jalen Hurts, because it's not so much scramble. It's almost like it's design run plays for him. Like, he avoids contact so well. And 2 weeks in a row, 50, 60-yard rushes to the end zone. And his price has come up, but he's got the only concern about this matchup with the Falcons, and it's a mild one, is the fact that the Falcons are going to do everything they can to just deflate the ball and try and keep him off the field. But let's say you take a couple of possessions away from him. I mean, he's still got a chance to go. I mean, he's going for 6x every single week. So Jefferson against Dallas, really interesting matchup there. The only teams so far, there have been a couple of teams. Detroit has done it, that has bracketed Jefferson. That's not really what Dallas does. That's not the way they play. It's certainly not the way that their cornerbacks play. They like to challenge these wide receivers. That's not a good idea against Justin Jefferson. But Jefferson at 9-1 would have to not only do what he did last week, but probably get another 5 points or so in order. And the pricing on this slate, at least first glance, the pricing has been tighter the last couple of weeks. I thought it was pretty tight last week. And we have to look and see who the underpriced players are, the underpriced wide receivers. We'll go through those, the underpriced running backs here. But, Jefferson, great play, but how is he going to fit? I think it'd be really hard to fit him and Hurts together and get a lineup that you really feel comfortable with. And there's just Justin Fields. Outside of Hurts and Fields, maybe, and there's a lot of question marks here at quarterback this week, a lot of risk.
JT didn't want to play along, Uncle T, but now you have to talk about both Justins too, and what you'd like to do with them this week.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields, it's really been remarkable because, if I've been on him, I'd be taking a major victory lap. But, I played him 2 weeks ago when he had the 43-point game, kind of stayed away from him a little bit last week, and he put up 45 or whatever it was. So, back-to-back weeks, he's literally crushed. Now, you look at the price tag, 7.6K on DK. Guys, 4 weeks ago, he was 5,200. 4 weeks ago, 5,200. At this point in the year, take anybody at any position. There's no way you've seen anybody go with that kind of a price, increase in that short amount of time. It just doesn't happen at this point in the year in week 11, but it's warranted. And the thing is, he's put it up back-to-back games, and now he goes into, like JT said, a pretty solid matchup, obviously, in Atlanta. You got a 50 total. Wow. I wouldn't talk you off of him at all. But it definitely is interesting with the price increase to see what his ownership percentage will be. So, I'm not saying to play him or not play him. We'll see what happens on Sunday. We'll check out ownership. Justin Jefferson is an interesting one because, like JT said, you throw in a 9.1 Justin Jefferson, it does make roster construction a little bit tougher here, at least on a Wednesday afternoon. I don't see a ton of value at the running back or receiver position. If something opens up to where we can grab a couple in the mid to high 4Ks at receiver that can make stuff work. Again, Jefferson's getting the targets again the last 2 weeks. Not that he wasn't getting them, but 16 and 13 the last 2 weeks and put up 38 and 28 points. So I like him. Pretty good matchup. Heck, Christian Walker wasn't it right last week? Is that right? Walker put up 3 touchdowns for Green Bay last week. Or do I have that name right? Watson. Yeah. That's what I meant. I'm looking at another guy here. I know it's not always apples to apples comparison there, but I wouldn't talk you off either one, but the short answer for me, Holden, is I'm probably not going to play either this week. I like, again, it may change, but at the quarterback position, if you want me to kind of lead in here with some of these guys, I mean,
Before you do that, let me just bring this up real quick.
8.5. Don't
3
really
feet of snow.
Yeah, don't really have any. I wouldn't have had any interest really at 8.5, even if it was good weather, to be honest. And then you go down to Lamar. Look at what Lamar's done. He's 8.4K. So we talk about the rise in price tag for Fields, and it's been justified. You know, Lamar's been in this over 8K range for 5 weeks in a row now. He's put up 17, 21, 10, and 18. I just don't see the ups. It's crazy as it sounds. Maybe the upside based off of the price tag. I'd much rather go down to Jalen Hurts or even Justin Fields for that matter, because he's at least shown it recently that he can put up that monster game. I don't really have interest in Jackson either this week. Jalen Hurts is definitely an interesting one because Indy does tend to play a little bit better defense at home, but you're indoors, you're in on the faster surface, obviously. Hurts coming off the loss, short week to prepare. I don't know. I'd much rather go down to probably Joe Burrow, 6.8K at Pittsburgh. Now, you might say, you remember back when he threw all them interceptions in that earliest season game. What was it? Actually, I think it was opening day. They're coming off the bye. I look for a really good, focused Joe Burrow and Bengals team this week. I think they go into Pittsburgh and actually take care of business there pretty easily, in my opinion. I really liked him a lot on the betting side this week. So I like Burrow at 6.8. And then Dak Prescott, couple weeks now back, right? Couple games under his belt. Played pretty good last week. 3 touchdown passes in that game against Green Bay. Now you go to Minnesota. You know, that total is sitting at 47.5. We don't have a whole lot of high totals this week either. They are on the late slate. They're the late 3-game window this week. So I do think that game will definitely garner some attention. And if you're going cheap this week, I got 2 guys and I'll let JT get in. Daniel Jones, 5.7K against Detroit. And then, actually, that was the only one down underneath there. I had a little bit of interest in Mariota against Chicago just because the Chicago games have been shooting out here the last few weeks. But I don't know if I can trust Mariota. He just hasn't done it for me the last 3 or 4 weeks. But Danny Jones would be my cheapest guy at 5.7K.
JT, couple things. 2 to 3 feet of snow on its way to Buffalo. As it stands right now, could just be flurries during the game, though. So you're looking at cold weather. If it pushes back, keep an eye on that. Second of all, as far as Lamar goes, I think he misses Bateman. He loved Bateman. And then don't forget the last couple of games, he had a way below 100% Mark Andrews, and then Andrews sat out. And now Andrews is practicing early in the week or midweek it's still early in the week, but he's back to practice. So I think we got to keep an eye on that. And Uncle T, if Andrews is back, then I want to see how he performs without Bateman, because when Bateman was in there, he was cooking. Like you could tell the difference in the numbers. So he'll get Lamar back, or he'll get Andrews back. And then JT, what do you think about Lamar? You got any interest in him?
The thing with Lamar is the ceiling has not been there in these games, right? Okay. I mean, you look and it's all the way back in week 3 and speculation that maybe he's not 100%. But since, 2 big performances, week 2 and week 3, the Miami game, and then at the Patriots, it's been 15, 15, 18, 10, 21 against Tampa Bay, 17.5 against New Orleans. And now we get to Carolina defense that is better than league average. So, I'm not sure what's going on with the running backs there. I think Gus Edwards will be back. I don't think Dobbins is coming back, right? So, I don't know if I'm going to pay 8.4 for Lamar. I mean, all things being equal, if he was 100% healthy, yeah, right. You would rather pay that price than some of these other plays, but I don't know. I mean, their offense just looks, and maybe it's because of Bateman being out and how much he had meant to them, but they just don't stretch the field enough. So it's a lot of dump offs. Andrews, if he's back and healthy, he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver there for him. But Jackson isn't a guy that really crossed my radar when I was looking at the slate, first look. it was, you have a decision with what to do with Fields, because, is he going to continue this insane run of, what is it now? It's, 2 games in a row over 40 points, like ridiculous rushing yards. We know that is something that the Falcons struggle with, the run in general. But they also struggle with the pass. So is this an opportunity where he maybe gets a little bit lower than that, but he gets Darnell Mooney involved a little bit here, because that's where this Falcons team is weak. So I don't know. Hurts is interesting at lower ownership against the Colts. I was listening to your friends, Holden, today in the VSiN network, the Vegas Sports and Information Network. And they were talking about, now the Eagles, they get that loss at home. Now they go to the Colts, and that's no gimme. And I'm like, 2 weeks ago, everybody was down on the Colts. In fact, you said that the Colts were tanking, Holden, that their hire of Jeff Saturday was a clear indication that they were tanking. They go out and they win, but they win against the Raiders. And that's like, it's sort of at this point, not, yes, it was big for them because they finally got a win. But when we talked about it, I said, look, if they were starting Matt Ryan in that game, I would feel better about the Colts. Told nobody about it, but then they started Matt Ryan, one of the big surprises. And he did well because it was indoors against a defense that, cannot defend the pass or the rush. And it was Jonathan Taylor at a big day. So Hurts against this Indy defense, how excited they were to get that win. Potentially a big letdown game here for Indy, coming off of that first win with Jeff Saturday, and a nice rebound game here from the Eagles after that home loss to the Commanders. So I think he's interesting. You want to go lower than that. I think it's tough. I normally don't play Kirk Cousins, but Dallas's defense is sort of faltering a little bit here. I still don't love it. And then you go down and it's like, Houston's defense is one of the worst against the rush. Is Tyler Heineke at 5'3" worth a play? I don't know. I'm with Uncle T though. I think Daniel Jones is interesting at that price point. The Giants offense is really mediocre, but they're winning. And Jones has rushing upside in a really nice spot against a defense that allows a lot of yards.
Okay. That would be the quarterback position. We'll get to the running backs. I'll come to you first, JT. Like button would be great if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're just listening, just give yourself a thumbs up. Way to go. Saquon's in a great spot. We always love targeting Detroit, don't we? So that's good for him. I would think that I'm just looking down the list here. Ramondre Stevenson, I think, is underpriced at 6'7". To me, as a top 5 upside this week, as he always does, even though the Jets have a nice defense. We'll see about it. Zeke Pollard is obviously going to get the bump if Zeke's out again. And then Dameon Pierce. So that's kind of like 6'5" and above. What are your thoughts here, JT?
Running back looks tough to me this week. The pricing, the matchups. I think especially with that weather, Nick Chubb is a little bit interesting against the Bills. I don't think he's going to be very highly owned, but if you're going to have a situation there where they really want to run the ball anyway, they don't want Jacoby Brissett to throw it around. So I think he's mildly interesting there. Stevenson, we got to see what the situation is with Damian Harris. And then, so we'll go back to the Falcons game, right? Falcons Bears, 2 things here. Khalil Herbert put on IR. So that means David Montgomery at 6'1" should get more of the work. Now, the question is, do you think that Fields is going to rush for 150 yards again? Or are they going to watch the tape and realize that they have to bottle him up, and then maybe Montgomery gets a little bit more opportunity here? So I think that's interesting. On the other side of this, Cordero Patterson was insanely popular in that showdown game against the Panthers. It was widely speculated that they were going to limit him because he'd just come back from injury. It was a Thursday night game. They absolutely did. And now he's 6'2" against the Bears defense that's been allowing 26, 27 rushing fantasy points per game to the opposition. And I know that Tyler Algier has been there. I know that they've been involving 3 running backs. I know that Mariota runs, but I think at that price point, Patterson is interesting. And then one guy you've got Pollard, depending on what happens with Zeke in that matchup against Minnesota. And then one guy that I think is disgusting but cheap in a matchup against a team that just has been getting destroyed on the ground is Latavius Murray at 5K against the Raiders. It's a big field, deep play, lets you fit in some higher price receivers, and you're taking a chance.
Is that it, JT?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
I feel like you're dying. Are you okay, pal? You can't.
No.
You don't have to soldier through this. So I'm gonna throw a name at you here, Uncle T. We'll see how you respond. Pacheco, Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, I'm 0 for the season on Pacheco so far, so I might not be a good
No
guy.
Pacheco.
I've tried him a few times and the Showdown variety, and then he hasn't worked for Uncle T or anybody, right? I mean, I get what people are saying. He's not even on the main slate though, is he?
Who?
No, I was going to ask.
He's that night's slate. I can ask you about other ones, and I always screw up anyways.
Yeah, I was looking at him because I remember talking about him on the last.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Elijah Mitchell too, and they're playing each other.
Let me take over, Holden. So
why don't you take over, Uncle T?
No, I mean I like a lot of what JT just said there. I have a lot of similar thoughts, but just starting at the top with Barkley, Barkley is in a great spot. I mean, he had, 35, something like that carries, 34, 35 carries last week. Do I think he's going to get that this week? No, I do not. But 8,900, a good matchup there. He's just getting so much usage and work. If I'm spending up again, we don't have Henry, we don't have Eckler, or as Mangone called him, Ekelar. We don't have Ekelar, and we don't have CMC on the slate. So if you're spending up, I don't mind the 8.9 price tag. JT mentioned Chubb in that game. If we think that the weather is going to be bad, I actually don't mind either side of that, right? Chubb on the one side and even Singletary on the other side. If you think that the game is, going to be played, on the ground due to the weather, I don't necessarily mind that angle. But going down, one guy JT didn't mention, and I'm not really sure. I want to get his opinion just because of the price difference. Now, Josh Jacobs played this Denver team back in week 2 or 3, and he put up like 37 DK points and just crushed his team. Now, the difference between that game and this game, he was 5,500 in that game, and obviously he's 7,500 here. So obviously he's been playing better. That's why he's got the elevated price tag. Goes into Denver. This game's on the road. I don't know how I feel about Jacobs. I'm leaning towards maybe not playing him, but it definitely is interesting the way he crushed him the last time. But going down a little bit, the two guys that JT did mention, Cordero Patterson and David Montgomery, I have exactly the same thoughts of what he said. I have some interest in both. Monty, obviously with Herbert out, you wouldn't think he would get in the 20s carries, but depending on the game script, like he said, I think teams are going to start looking at the film and seeing what Fields is doing. They're going to have to put somebody to where they're going to try to control his running ability. He broke one off for 67 yards last week. I do like Monty. I think he could get 15 to 20 carries without Herbert comfortably, depending on the game script, as long as they don't get behind it. I don't think they're going to this week. I like that a lot. Kenyon Drake at 5.9K going up against Carolina. If you don't like the Lamar angle, and if Andrews is back and such, I don't mind Kenyon Drake. He's been serviceable. 5.9 feels, I guess, like a fair price tag, according to his contributions in production the last few weeks. And after that, I don't really like a ton down below. Now, if you believe that Washington will give the ball to Brian Robinson, what did they give him the ball on Monday night? I'm going back and look.
I looked at those guys because obviously that's one of the top 3 matchups in the NFL, and it was really an even split. It was fairly an even split between him and Gibson. And now this is a big slate. In Showdown, they both got there because that was, the way, and we bring this up because I didn't mention Jonathan Taylor, but that is the way now the last 4 games to attack the Eagles. They had a key injury on the defensive line, and they are, I believe it was 27th DVOA against the rush the last 4 games. That was before the Washington game where they got absolutely destroyed on the ground. So Taylor at 7.5, I think is interesting. He's still down below these other guys at 8K because of all the weeks where they were dicking around and not giving him snaps and he was hurt. And what it looks to me like, and I have to go back and take a look at the tight end snaps to confirm this. It looks like Jeff Saturday may be moving towards stopping fucking around and playing like everybody that's on the roster on the offensive side of the ball, which is the one thing. It's why we couldn't target the Colts for so long, because you have, like, it was the 5th wide receiver that was getting 10 targets out of nowhere. So I think if we see some centralization here, which it looks like we might with the Colts, not necessarily this matchup, but that could be something interesting. Holden still thinks they're tanking, which is delicious.
I do. Just wait till they lose this fucking game.
I think they're gonna. That's the concern I have about Taylor. Is I do think this is a really, 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 really hard letdown spot for these guys.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then after this loss, they'll lose again, and that's when everybody will start realizing that the tanking is in full effect.
Holden, why are they
Jim
tanking?
Irsay got lucky for a week. Yeah.
They don't have a number 1. They don't have a first-round pick next year, right? Why are they tanking?
I don't know. I only know the Broncos don't have a first-round pick for the next decade.
I'll have to look it up. I'm almost positive they don't have a first-round pick. So unless they trade to get one,
they're getting a better second-round pick. You think I'm ever going to admit to you?
They're taking JT to get a good second-round pick.
You think I'm ever going to admit I'm wrong about this? Are you kidding me? I'm working with JT.
No,
No, of course not.
Of course not. You're gonna take this. Well, though, listen. Are they going to go to the playoffs? No, I don't think so. But will they be better than they were under Frank Reich? I mean, this offense was just a disaster and some terrible choices in terms of how they distributed the ball. So all I'm saying for DFS purposes is perhaps we can consider looking at this offense, whereas I've been crossing them off pretty much every week.
Yeah, one thing to put a cap on the Gibson thing while you were talking there, JT. He got 14 carries, did Gibson, and Robinson got 26. Now, them being able to stay in the game early obviously allowed Washington to play at whatever kind of tempo and pace, and obviously run the ball a lot more with playing. The game was competitive, right? If the game was going to be a blowout, obviously it wasn't. And Gibson, you threw in a 1-yard touchdown run there too, so he got there in a little bit different way than Robinson did. It felt like to me watching the game that they were 2/3, 66% or so going to Robinson. Now you don't ever know, right, from game to game, but if it feels like if they're going to give, 2/3 of the carries to Robinson, I'd have a little bit of interest in him at 5.3K is I guess what I want to say.
Uncle T, real quick.
Yeah.
The Colts don't have the first or a second-round pick.
Oh, so they're definitely tanking.
And they had a conditional second rounder. But Wentz, they're not going to get that from Washington because Wentz hasn't played 70% of the snaps.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So
probably should have looked at the
theory down then,
draft
Holden.
picks for that. Yeah, it's good research on my part.
Good job of research, Holden.
I took care of you. I got your back, Holden.
You did exactly the opposite of getting my back there.
Well, I didn't want to validate it. And then on a later show in the week, say them 2 donkeys on the Wishbone were talking about them tanking. They don't even have a first or second round pick. So
yeah,
we got out ahead of it.
I'm the only donkey.
When he says got your back, he means he's got the machete ready to
correct. Yes. Yeah. It's like kill him with kindness.
One point, and it's I can't take credit for it. We had on the Print Factory on Monday, the Showdown show, our girl Meg Schaup talked about how they use Gibson and Robinson, and she said if they're ahead, then Robinson's the guy that's going to get the work. If they're behind because of the passing attack, then Gibson will likely get the work. The other thing there, Uncle T, is you got to worry about, is J.D. McKissick back? Because if McKissick is back, then you just throw it all out the window. You don't really know what Ron Rivera is going to do. And then who was the running back that you wanted me to talk about?
Oh, just touch on Jacobs. Not that, just just because of the matchup last time, he has come back to earth a little bit from his good run, but it's a $2,000 difference from when they played him earlier in the year. I just wanted to get your interest there.
Yeah, Jacobs is a full fade for me outdoors at this price on the road.
Okay.
Sure.
Very good. We'll move on to the wide receiver position, which is incredible. I'll try and figure out which ones are on this slate. You know what? Not true. I'm going to
talk about Tyreek Hill?
I'm going to throw somebody else out. I'm going to throw someone else out at running back.
Yeah. All right.
Gus the Bus or Kenyon Drake. The Ravens RB1 has actually gotten a nice workload the last couple of weeks. Now, Gus has only been in 2 games, but he blasted in one. The other one, he got hurt. And Kenyon Drake was very, very productive. I think it was at least his last game. JT, any thoughts on that situation? Which, again, a lot of people want to stay away because Lamar.
Talked about him for 45 seconds, Holden. You weren't listening.
Yeah, but JT didn't.
And answer his question.
No, I have not listened. I checked out. After, when did I do it too? Oh, quarterback.
My God. Uncle T mentioned Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, but did you?
I'm going to talk about him now. We got to see what happens with Edwards. If history is any indication, if Edwards is back, then it looks like he'll be the number one guy. And they're both cheap enough where if he's back or if he's out, you could have interest in either one. It's an okay matchup against Carolina. You obviously, there's an advantage there with the offensive line with the Ravens, but we'll see. We'll have to see. Like I said, pricing is tough right now. Hopefully things open up throughout the week.
Did we do running back? Yeah, we just got done with it. Did we do wide receiver yet? Because I'm trying to figure out what part of the show we were on. Did we do that yet, Uncle T?
Wide receiver, Holden.
Did anyone ask JT about Tyreek Hill?
He's a great play this week on the main slate.
He's not even on the main slate.
No shit.
Oh, I see what you did there. You guys made fun. It took a second, but I realized you guys were making
I can't
fun.
take credit. That was JT that stuck that one in.
Good job, JT.
Yeah,
do we want to go back to Justin Jefferson, JT? Can you build a good enough lineup around him?
Man, I haven't tried building lineups. And it burned me with Fields because I never go back to these guys after smash ceiling games. And you look at the price and you say, so the question is, can I find value elsewhere that I trust, right? And you look around and you see there might be some places where we can find some of that value that we can trust. Stefan Diggs is 8.3, but that's a weather game. His price didn't move. So we'll have to see about that. A couple of guys that I wrote him down to be in my player pool just because he's phenomenal, right? He's potentially him and Tyreek, offensive player of the year in the running for there. So, and I don't see a lot that we could trust this week, right? You can trust that Jefferson is going to get the targets almost every week. You could trust the targets are going to be there for a lot of guys that aren't on the main slate. So that matchup against the Falcons, Darnell Mooney. Mooney is 5'4". Wide receiver ones have really done a job against this team, particularly in Atlanta. So he's interesting. Got to see what A.J. Brown's health status is this week. He would be interesting to me after a couple of down games. T. Higgins at 7-1. I know the price is elevated, but wide receiver ones against the Steelers have done pretty well. I'm going to throw out that New Orleans game because you get New Orleans away from the dome and it's just not the same. But in that same vein, thinking about New Orleans, Chris Olave at 6'8". Now in a home game against the Rams, who can't stop anybody, I like Chris Olave a little bit here. And then a couple of off the board ones, just because they do see the volume. And even though it'll be a lower scoring game, Garrett Wilson and Jacoby Myers, 4.9 and 5.5 on DraftKings, should see enough volume to be interesting this week.
Okay. Uncle T, wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. Yay or nay?
Well, I mean, JT just mentioned 37 guys, so I'm not going to have too many guys to choose from here.
7 guys, 7 fucking guys.
It just so happened most of them were the guys I was looking at, maybe. So,
that's because great minds think alike. So instead of slandering me and throwing a barb, you could say, man, I feel pretty good because those are exactly the names I had down. And here's 1 or 2 others. Instead, you have to go the Holden route and pick a fight and get me energized and excited.
Holden, I'll tell you what, JT mentioned 6 or 7 guys, and I was on the same page. They were really good calls. Let me throw out a couple other ones at you here just for, CD Lamb, 7.5K. I like him quite a bit here. I think this Dallas Minnesota game is definitely going to be a popular one based off of the other matchups this week. I think Dallas wins this game too as well. I think it's pretty close to an even game right now. Maybe Dallas 1.5 or 2. I think Dallas wins this game in Minnesota. Had a huge game last week. Sometimes I don't, like JT, don't like chasing the high game or ceiling game maybe the week previous, but I just think Dak to Lamb is one that can get really hot here the last part of the second half of the year here. So good matchup. I think this game could go in maybe to the high 20s, low 30s for each team. I like the over in the game, and I like Dallas. Love the guys that he mentioned, Higgins and Olave. Up there in the upper 6, lower 7K range. One guy, I don't think he did mention, DJ Moore, 5.7K in the matchup in Baltimore. JT doesn't like it.
Baker Mayfield. You got Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is the quarterback for Carolina this week. Baker Mayfield, if he could pass to himself, he would pass to himself before any of those receivers. So,
all right, I'll have to put a question mark there. I appreciate it. And I actually buried the lead here, Holden. And it's my fault because I like to be transparent. I'm an honest guy. I was going to start off my wide receiver segment by saying that JT was right last week. Uncle T was wrong on Amari Cooper. He had 3 catches for 38 yards or whatever it was, 36 yards, something.
I did get attacked on this podcast because I think the quote was, because Amari has bad numbers, he can never have a good game outside. Well, apparently fucking so.
Yeah, I'm admitting it. I'm taking my L like a man here, JT. I'm giving you props.
Yeah, it wasn't you. Honestly, it was Spread, and that's where I really am. I booked a house across the street from Spreads so I could take him out.
I gave you shit about it too, so I gotta give you credit. You were wrong, I was right, or I was wrong, you were right. But anyway, that being said, one other guy down in the cheap value range, Holden, Darius Slayton. 5K. If you have interest in Danny Jones, maybe at 5.7K, why not pair him with a 5K Darius Slayton? Now you might say last week's game where he caught the long one, then caught the touchdown, but look at him the last 4 or 5 weeks. Again, he's 5K, he's not 8K. He's put up 18, 11, 14, 3, 14. So I just feel like, it's not a bad play here at 5K. So I do have some interest in him. I like the Garrett Wilson call as well. It just feels like he's underpriced. If you need a value guy, going into New England, not sure what the weather will be like up there in Foxborough, but 4.9K, don't mind that one as well.
Yeah, I like Slayton too.
Yep. Was talking about him on the DFS and Bet show. He's a home run hitter, and he was getting volume too. What do he's got off the top of my head? 6 and 4 targets, maybe. So he's getting work. Also, I gotta wonder about Wan'Dale Robinson. Was that just we just loved him for a week or two, and what? Because Kenny Golladay is not coming back. Kenny Galladay's done. That's gonna go down as one of the worst signings in the history of the league.
Wan'Dale.
I mean, it was interesting to me to see all the love that he was getting. Just loving anyone in this Giants offense is tough outside of Saquon, but I think Slayton's the number 1 guy there now, and I greatly prefer him, especially in this. Actually, look, I mean, here's the thing: the Giants' offense is still, no matter the matchup, they're going to grind it out, right? They're going to run the clock down, and I was listening to something, that same thing that I was listening to today about how many unders Giants games have hit in their last 17. I think it's 15-1-1 hitting the under for the New York Giants. So there's not a ton of points to go around here, which is sad because you see Jones and Slayton and Robinson, and you think, oh man, I could stack it up, or you go Jones and Slayton and Saquon, and you've got a ton of money left. But despite the fact that it's a matchup against the Lions, and remember the Lions are outdoors, so what do we really expect from Jared Goff and the Lions without DeAndre Swift, with the cornerbacks focusing on Amon-Ra? What do we really expect out of the Lions that's going to give these Giants a reason to keep running the score up? And the answer for me is not a lot.
I think that JT, on another not DFS topic, but a betting topic, it feels like that number at only a 3-point favorite. Doesn't that feel like it's a little light? Like that, it feels like that spread should be 4.5, 5.5. It felt, when I looked at that, it felt like something what am I missing? Don't you think that spread should be more than 3 at home?
Yeah, I don't. What was the? You guys probably don't know. I certainly don't know off the top of my head. I was wondering what the spread was when Detroit went into New England. So I didn't think that was an enormous spread either. And they actually they got
it 6.5.
Was it? So
hold on, I'll go look it up.
I mean, that is a little bit too light for these guys on the road outdoors against a Giants defense that's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Hold on, was it 3?
I got it I'm looking at 3. Am I looking at the wrong game?
It was 3. You know why? Because New England was 1-3 at the time. Okay. Yeah, it was 3. It was 3, JT.
So that's some disrespect to the Giants, and I think they'll get motivated by that. I mean, Jared Goff outdoors is that's not good. And you look at what they're doing with Swift, he's getting, 5 carries. I mean, they seem like they're tanking more so than the Colts, Holden.
It'd be awesome if the Broncos tanked, but they don't have any first-round picks either. I mean, you talk about a shit show, guys. And I was in DC for a long time. There's nothing that will ever be like covering that franchise in Washington. Nothing. Just because of Dan Snyder. But it's a shit show, man. This Nathaniel Hackett literally has no clue. And Uncle T, maybe I could talk to you about coaching for a second here. Josh McDaniels and Nathaniel Hackett are 2 of the worst out there. Kingsbury's got to go. The fuck was Mike McCarthy doing in overtime last week? Serious. What is this guy doing?
Yeah, I actually I didn't actually catch the end of the Green Bay overtime game, and I just was following it on my phone. My daughter had her volleyball banquet, into the season banquet, so I was in a gym trying to follow the 4:00 slate of games, and so I didn't watch that live, Holden. But yeah, I'm not really sure what he was doing. I mean, Mike. I just think he's an awful coach, to be honest with you. I don't know how he's gotten by as long as he has. I think he's a terrible coach. I think Dallas would have been better served to go after like Sean Payton or somebody like that could actually design some plays. But them other 3 guys you mentioned, Holden, I tell you what, which one's going to get fired first, do you think? I mean, I think they actually didn't already come out and say they're not firing McDaniels because
I love a good vote of confidence.
No, I think it was because they didn't want that. Like, he's getting like this year and next year, isn't it?
They don't want to pay him. They don't want to pay, but they don't. Yeah. So it depends. There's still half a season for the players to openly revolt. Because if you listen to anything Devontae Adams and Derek Carr said over the weekend on Sunday, it was like it was pointed toward guys not buying in. And that would fall on Josh McDaniel. Hackett's definitely done after this year.
Well, didn't Derek Carr in his presser, like basically almost in tears, basically talking about
he
how
was
some
in
of the
tears.
Guys, don't have the heart that others do. And this
it was
and
an
that,
indictment on McDaniel. Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, some of these guys, they're good coordinators, and then when they get in that top seat and they get these head coaching jobs, they just don't know how to get it done. And
that's fine.
I know you're up to knowing who's got the first round picks. Is Vegas going to tank the rest of the year, Holden, to get a higher draft pick?
No, Josh McDaniel needs to win some games, dude. I'm serious. He's going to be trying. He can't. This is not a tank situation for him. This is everybody fucking hates him in the media. And now you're going to start hearing things from players. They got to beat the Broncos this week. It's a shitty game, but they got to win. Here's the best part about it. And Hackett was asked, how important is this outcome? And he goes on and on and on. And finally, his last comment was, well, somebody's got to win this game. And I'm going,
man,
What? Somebody's got to win this game. You didn't know that was just going to be completely taken out of context and blown out of context. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
So this Kingsbury's the same. Kingsbury's got to go.
Yeah.
He's him and listen, I think Kyler's going to cost multiple coaches their jobs. That's just what it seems like. But Kingsbury looks completely clueless. Maybe Kyler turns into somebody really good with good coaching. Come to think of it, he's got Marquise Brown coming back either this week or the next. I don't know, but and McCarthy, no excuse, JT, no excuse for overtime there. Kick the fucking field goal, man. Stop trying to be cute. McCarthy, I don't know what to say. I think he's good for an organization for building them up, and at this point now, he's not going to be good. Once they get into the playoffs, these mistakes, they get magnified, and it happens every game with them.
There was some discussion this week about the wind at that time facing that side of the stadium, and that he, didn't feel that kicking into the wind would give them the best chance. And he thought that they could get the extra couple of yards. So maybe that factored in. I don't know. I mean, watching it, I felt the same way as you. I'm like, what are they doing with this amount of time left? But if that really, was the situation, then okay, maybe you say you understand it. It's still not a good outcome. I mean, to let Green Bay score that much against your defense, right? Defense that everybody thought was going to be the best week in and week out.
Tight end. A lot of options here at tight end this week. Let's find out, boys. Uncle T, Mark Andrews could be back this week. Back to practice, limited. Hawkinson, you looked at the usage week one. You said, wow, Minnesota knows to use this guy a lot more than Detroit knows to use this guy. 9 targets. First week there, you got another 10 with 7 receptions last week. So there's a lot of balls to go around there with the Vikings. Dalton Schultz, I think he's back. I think we're going to be talking about him as a top 5 option. Dulcich disappointed last week. That changes this week. He was kept into block. You know what? Maybe it doesn't. He was kept into block a lot last week because they were down to 2 third-string offensive linemen. Like they've got 1 starter left there. So I think it's pretty interesting when you look at that. What do you got at tight end?
Yeah, we're going to have to clip that, Holden. You said that they got a lot of balls to go around. I think we'll have to clip that for something later. But
why would you think of that, Uncle T?
I mean, I caught it. I mean, I know you didn't, you talk like that all the time, so it didn't bother you. But yeah, I caught it. But
what does that mean?
I mean, you said you had a lot of balls to go around. I mean,
well, you just said it, so now I'm going to cut it and put it right back on you.
You probably will, you
Ding
bastard. No, tight end this week is crazy. I mean, it is a mess, if you ask me. I'm not paying $6.8K for Mark Andrews. I'm just not doing it. You got Goddard, obviously, got put on IR. Hawkinson's 5.3K against Dallas. Waller's a disaster. He's on IR. You got Pitts. We keep trying to make Pitts work here and there. Probably my favorite guy, just by process of elimination, is going to be Dalton Schultz, 4.3K. I like that game. I've talked about it quite a bit in this podcast here. So I think he might be my favorite. And then the weird part is, again, another one I want to get JT's take on is Cole Kmet, 4.1K. Now last week, I did the same thing I did in the guy earlier when, trying to come off that ceiling game, not really a ceiling game, but for him, a ceiling game, 22 points the week before, right back with 2 more touchdowns last week, 23 points. Couldn't really imagine going back to him, but I know people will. At 4.1K, he's probably going to be fairly popular. I don't know what to do with him. Dulcich, I really like the bounce back spot here for Dulcich going up against Vegas. Tyler Conklin, like him a little bit, 3.4K in New England. And then if Njoku isn't back, Harrison Bryant is still cheap. I know that game, again's got some bad weather. Maybe they'll, I think he caught a 1 or 2 yard touchdown, did Bryant, last week in that game in Miami. I think that was the first touchdown, went out 7-0. And then Miami just truck stopped the Browns. So don't really have a whole lot to like here, Holden, to be honest. Based off of what we've talked about the previous hour at the other positions, I'm probably just going to spend down as much as I can and save money, which we do a lot anyway. But no Kittle, no Kelsey on the slate. Dalton Schultz probably be my guy.
JT, besides for Dalton Schultz, I have no idea who Uncle T was talking about. I was watching Dr. J slam dunk highlights. No telling what I'm going to watch when you're talking, but it is your turn.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I like Dalton Schultz a little. I like Hawkinson. If you consider that maybe Jefferson is going to get more attention after that game, then I think Hawkinson is pretty interesting. And then, like Uncle T said, it's a tough week. The one thing about Conklin is he had that wild game when a couple of those wide receivers were out, and then last week he split the snaps with CJ Uzoma. So just sort of not consistent there in terms of the opportunity. I do like the Washington attack against this Houston team. Logan Thomas disappointed us on Monday night, but he's 2,800. And then one other guy, it's just a good matchup. It's, anybody playing the Rams is a good matchup. Juwan Johnson has shown that he's got some upside and he's still priced down. So those are my guys earlier in the week.
Juwan Johnson. Love it. Love it.
There you go. Good.
JT, wonderful to see you.
Man, it's always so good to see you. It's the favorite part of my week, Holden.
Uncle T, I'm going to say the same thing to you. It's wonderful to see you.
Could you try to figure out how to unblock me on YouTube?
There's got to be a manual. The question is, do I want to spend the 30 seconds of my day to find it?
Yes. Because I come up with some decent one-liners. You don't like most of them, but I think the one I had earlier, Mangone really liked. He said that was a really good one. You had me laughing.
Okay. Yeah, but just because Mangone finds something funny doesn't mean.
Hey, I value Mangone's opinion.
The other one that I'd like to say is I didn't know this many people at RPS was like, listen to this. This is the RPS industry pod. Like they all listen. It's crazy. I just thought we were a bunch of.
JT and I have known this for 2 years. I can't believe
I did not know that.
I mean,
I usually get some type of message from some people.
Yeah.
Depending on how good or bad you are performing, Holden.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's fine with me.
Kind of critique it to me, and
you're gonna get what you get at this point.
I get a lot of times. Hey, was that okay? Do you think Holden was really, was he really that high? And I usually defend you, Holden. I'm like, no, he was fine. It was funny. We were joking around.
It's probably true. I've been sober the last few weeks though, so
that's why it's been a bad show. You gotta be. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think last week was bad. Last week was good.
Well, we had spread back last week, so
we love having spread. We love having spread.
Yeah.
We love having spread.
For the meantime.
Yeah.
For the meantime. Okay. I'm done lying to you and telling you it was a good time with you. Simon, get us out of here.